do, but I tell people if I don't see your nose starting to grow, how will we know? You can't read it. You can't use no notes, even if they're written on the hand. And right now, I'd like to thank our judges. I'd like to thank our evaluators. I'd like to thank you for making me look good, Shannon.
Of course. I'm here for.
I'd like to thank you, Samantha, for holding everything together. And I really hate I miss hearing JoJo's story, so you might have to tell it to me. We'd like to thank the Blind Owl Brewery for their hospitality. I'm looking out in the audience. I don't see Greg. He's been avoiding me. I'm gonna have to call them up and on. But I want you to know that the lime green basket is closed. I'm going to start pulling names. Somebody said to me the other day, why do you call it a lime green basket? I said, because it is a lime green basket. They hadn't been, so they didn't really know. So I'm trying to be independent here. But you don't want to have to call 911 to get me up off the ground. Thank you. Okay.
And here's our timekeeper.
Our timekeeper, thank you very much. When she raises her hand, that's 4 minutes. She's giving you a warning. She's not gonna tell you when your 5 minutes are up, but you need to start wrapping it up by then, okay? But our first teller with the topic of fence. Da-da-da-da, James Ryan, come on down.
Good evening. I need you to picture kind of like a calendar. We're talking about June of 1956, May of 1957. Then we're talking about May again in 1958. Then we're back to June in 1959. And then we're going to go to July of 1960. So what are these? What do these months and years have to do with each other? Those are the months and years of the first 5 children that my parents had. Okay. That's a lot in a short period of time. But the fact of the matter is, only the first 2 are what we call Irish twins. Right? Irish twins. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. I see some nods. Irish twins they were born within 12 months of each other. So June, May, my 2 oldest sisters, they're the only Irish twins. But then you got May, come on. But it was May 5th, May 19th. And then you had May, June, then June, July. So we're starting to slow down a little bit. There might have been a little bit of a fence put up at that point after July of 1960, because I didn't come along until November of 1961. July to November. Huh. Okay. Well, something happened there. I never really asked Dad if he slept on the couch or whatever. But a little bit of fence there. Oh, but did they stop there? Well, the fact of the matter is, after me, unfortunately, Mom had a miscarriage. There was a miscarriage between me and number 7, who didn't come until July of 1964. But then, oh, so close, July of 1965, last one. Okay, so 8. So I'm 6th of 8 kids. So did I have to speak up when I was around the house? Absolutely. Yeah, if I wanted dessert or anything like that, I had to speak up, I had to yell. But 6 of 8, this was not really that unusual. I grew up not too far from here, 56 in Emerson, Irish Catholic family, 6 of 8, 8 kids, not too bad. But we weren't really even the biggest family in the parish. There were the Boones, they had 14. There were the Flynn's, they had 14. They kind of cheated. They each had 2 sets of twins. Well, but somehow, for some reason, at the end of 65, and after July of 65, another fence went up, and there were no more kids in the family. I think that was enough. When you're from a big family, there's a lot going on. So my story is that story of Irish twins. Even though only the first 2 really qualify as Irish twins, we were all so close within a year or so of each other that we were able to play and help each other and fight with each other. Unfortunately, there was only 2 of us boys. 2 boys. So me and my brother, guess who we had to fight with? Each other. We couldn't fight with the girls. And unfortunately, it wasn't equal back then. You couldn't touch the girls. Now it's equal. And all the girls, you can beat on the girls now, right? No? Nah, I don't think so. So that fence went up after July of 1965, but the pasture was open and we all roamed around and we all did what we needed to do as a family. And we got to keep the fence at least a gate up, because here's my message. This is where I might get dinged. If you're not having at least 3 kids or more, I don't want to hear anything about immigration, because population growth is 2.1 kids or more per woman. So if you're not having 3 or more, we're not growing. And that's okay. If you want 0, if you want 1, if you want 2, I have 4 kids. And each of those 4 kids has 2. So we're not quite doing that. But that's okay. We want to take that fence for immigration and open a gate. Thank you very much.
That's right. Open them gates. Ooh-wee. Listen, this is how it works. My basket is not as full as I expected it to be. But you know what happens, don't you? When you hear a story, it's going to remind you of another. And don't be shy. There's Samantha with those forms back there. She will give you one. You can fill it out. I will pull your name out of the lime green basket. But right now, I'm digging into the lime green basket. And the name I just pulled out, see how that works? Larry Howell. Come on down.
Hey, thank you. Everybody all day today said, are you in it? Are you speaking? Are you speaking? Nobody's speaking except me. So, does this ring a bell to anybody? You'll never make it without. You will never make it without me. That's sobering in my mind. And I'll tell you the reason why. Years ago, probably 50 years ago now, my father had a heart attack and passed away, and I found out about it because that long ago they didn't have cell phones, so it was whatever you could get communicated back to the other one, my wife and my dad. So I looked at that as I had 2 choices. One, I stay home from Ball State and I get my degree, or I say to heck with all that, and I'm going to make this thing happen. I am going to get people motivated around me, and I'm going to survive this thing one way or the other. And that's the way really most situations are. If you really analyze them, there's a selling point back in there for you to go after, and that's the way you want to do it. Now, when he passed away, and I made that decision, I'm gonna get Danny with this business. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to make my dad proud. Sure am. But and that's motivating. I mean, anytime you still get touched by a parent at this stage of the game, I think that's a motivator for me. But I was in a position. I was 20 years old. I was given an assignment to go to Brownsburg, and that's the way I was taught by somebody we had in there working. Go to Brownsburg, run around a little bit, knock on a few doors, make a few people mad, and then when you're done, I'll come back and get you and take you back to the shop. Well, I'd had enough of that because I watched this fella, nice guy, but he was grabbing all my broad ripple heating leads from me. They're a sale as soon as you look at them. And so I'm fired up. I want to sell so bad I can taste it. So here it comes. I said, Bill, this is bad. My elder, he's probably 40 years older than me back then. But I said, Bill, I got a few ideas that aren't going to be as you're going to like them. The ending result's about the same, but getting there is going to be a little tough. I described to him what my thoughts were. He didn't like it. So stormed across the street, came squandering back to me again. He said, let me tell you something. You'll never make it without. And that phrase has motivated me my entire career. It's been great. So that was it for Bill. I said, well, too bad. I'm going to blow you away. Thanks. I've enjoyed working with you. You got to go. He went. I can't hardly handle myself. I got rid of this guy. I've been wanting to get rid of him for a long time. I got rid of him. It's me now. It's my group, my installers, my service guys, my fellow salespeople that were fired up as I was. And to have that around you, that energy, that excitement is something you don't get it anywhere. And with a company, I mean, my installers believed in me. My service guys believed in me. All my sales guys, my sister, my mom, the whole group. And I was pleased as punch that I had the opportunity to work on this same business that my dad did. And my first sale, man, you talk about out of control. I was out of control. I couldn't wait to get my name in the same sales book as his was in. A little crazy. So, appreciate all your time and giving me the opportunity to speak. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
We will. Listen, do you know that, as I recall, Storytelling Guild meets September 16th? It's over Zoom, 2 p.m. Everybody has a story to tell, and we like to listen to it. So if you want to try out a new story with an audience or just listen to others sharing, people of all skill levels are welcome, and this event is free. The Guild meets on the third Wednesday of every month from 2 to 4 on Zoom, and it's facilitated by Storytellers Ken Ogus and Liz Meyer for Storytelling Arts of Indiana. Contact Ken Ogus at kenogus@gmail.com if you're interested to get that Zoom link. Vince, I'm sure I've told you about the time I told my daddy that he could either buy me a car, a new stereo, or fix the fence in the backyard. Now, he had started that fence with some outrageous blocks that had blown over in a car dealership in a tornado. And they were painted orange on one side, and those blocks were heavy. So I agreed to assist him, and it was my birthday. So I went out in some overalls. He showed me how to clean off a block, taking the pickaxe and the chisel and chipping off the excess concrete because it was a newly installed wall. The tornado had completely blown over, and he had gotten a real bargain by getting them for free. So here I am out there in the backyard on the day of my birthday, chipping cement off a concrete block so he could lay them and make this huge 6-foot high fence. Now I had plans for that evening. I was going out with my friends. I was going to partake. I'll let you know that I needed a hot shower when I got back in the house. And I needed some Bengay. Because every bone in my body hurt. And I think after I took some Tylenol, I just laid down and went to sleep. And that was the end of my birthday celebration.
Aww.
But that fence is there still. But let me reach into this lime green basket. Ooh, they broke this one. Ooh, Rick Phillips. Come on down.
Oh, wait, miss.
He wanted to follow me. Is it still working? So up. Yes. Down.
Now roll them.
Excitement.
It looks good.
There you go.
Thank you, Miss Tracy.
Phillips.
1967. I'm in my backyard. I've got my coonskin cap on, and I've got my Daniel Boone wooden double rubber band musket rifle. I am protecting my backyard from Tommy, the next door neighbor, who often would take the crab apples, the hardened crab apples, throw them at me, and yell, ha ha. They were called the neighborhood ha ha. I was also protecting my yard from the neighborhood chicken cutter. She was a lady on the other side who would get 6 chickens a week, put them in their backyard, let them feast for about 3 hours, and then line them up and go pop with her butcher knife. She was a mean hombre. There could also be renegade Apache, German spies, all kinds of marauders. As I was protecting my yard, suddenly 6 men in black and blue suits came storming over the back fence. Cars came screeching up the front. Helicopters came overhead. There was a SWAT van out front. One of the men in the suit grabbed me by the belt and he said, "Where's your mother?" As I fired off my rubber band. He took me to the back door. He said, "There's a raid. Stay inside." My mother ushered me into the room as the rest of the neighborhood gathered, peering out the side window at our neighbor's house. Sure enough,
Next thing we knew, they ushered the next door lady out in handcuffs. She had on her customary pink robe, pink bunny slippers. They put her in the penny wagon. And then in came her husband as he rammed into the trash cans, busted into the fence. He rolled out in his normal drunken stupor. They grabbed him and cuffed him. And they put him in the penny wagon. What could be going on? Next thing you know, out came Marky Mark. He was a mean hombre. Marky Mark was in a wheelchair. Nobody really suspected Marky Mark of much. But Marky Mark had a shell launcher in his front yard. When Marky Mark would get angry at you, he would point the shell launcher at your house. So if the ball went in his front yard, he would turn the mortar at your house. If the postman was late, he would sit in his front yard and aim the mortar at the postman as he went by. If people parked too long in front of his house, he would aim it at their house. Well, the FBI, the SWAT team, and everybody else locked everything down. They went to the back shed and they opened it up. Sure enough, it was full of Vietnam era stolen weapons. The rocket launcher out front, stolen from the Alabama National Guard. Marky Mark went to federal custody. Marky Mark had stolen all that stuff. Marky Mark was ratting them all out. Marky Mark was locked up for about 6 months. When Marky Mark came back, a whole new group of people started driving slow in front of the house. Because a whole new group of people was aiming for Marky Mark. And I needed my rubber band gun way tall.
Danger, danger.
Boston space.
Got some. No, some people back there can hear.
Solid state, would you
Talking to
give
Mike.
a tutorial on how to talk into a microphone? How you kind of be right up on it? Show them how it's done.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to pull the cord out this time. But you wanna be this close to the microphone
better?
to talk.
In the back?
Can you hear back there?
Yeah, good.
But my mouth was loud anyway. Listen, you might want to know upcoming events with Freetown Village. Fast Times and Fierce Determination inside Charlie Wiggins' historic journey. Join us for a deep dive into the thrilling and complex life of legendary race car driver Charlie Wiggins. Exploring the dualities of his era, this presentation retraces his unstoppable passion for racing, examines the barriers he faced in a segregated sport, and celebrates the monumental legacy of his historic achievement, the tale of 3 100s. The featured speaker is Angie Rogers, who is a great niece of Charlie Wiggins, and she'll guide us through her family's remarkable history and her uncle's enduring impact on motorsports. Now, it's at the Indiana Landmark Center. The doors open at 5:30 and the talk begins at 6 p.m. It's free, but they would love you to go online and register. Also, live streams will begin at 6 p.m. So put that on your calendar. I believe it's also probably on September 16th. I don't see that, but usually, no, it's the 17th. It's always a day out. Okay, got it? All right. But let me reach into my lime green basket, pull out another name. Did no women sign up for this or what? Uh-oh. You feel that I get it? No Bewley. Come on down. I just feel that because I get it.
Okay, I'm watching. Broke it.
It has to go down and then.
That's, is that okay? Can you? Every inner city playground that I ever worked at was surrounded, at least partially, by a chain link fence. And they were to keep the kids, the balls, the frisbees, the hula hoops, and other things out of the street. And it worked okay unless the kids came up with a different game rather than dodgeball or kickball. Showed the teacher that you can get the ball over the fence and they have to go get it. And you can watch them walk out in traffic and stop traffic and then try to throw the ball back where they usually threw it and hit the fence and it rolled out in the street again. And they enjoyed that. In fact, they liked that so much. My first experience with recess duty, Stephen, while I was out getting the kickball, took peanut butter sandwich out of the trash and ate it. And Faith, who was in the sand, wasn't a sand trap, but it was sand, and she took a bucket and dumped it over her head. And those are just two simple things that happen when you are on recess duty. Years later, I was on a school playground that was sloped. The kickball diamond was at the bottom. One street ran this way and it had a 6-foot fence. The street out the first baseline had a 15-foot fence because there were mean dogs on the other side. And you did not want that to go over, although until my favorite principal began, they kicked that ball into that yard so often I couldn't believe it. And I could only send Freddie or Bobby over to get it because they're the only people who knew those dogs. And so Tom Carney, this fabulous principal, volunteered to do recess duty every single day outside with the intermediate kids, almost junior high age. And he created a kickball game with rules that you won't recognize, but they were his, and they made the game go so fast. First of all, anyone wearing the brown and orange of the Cleveland Browns was the captain. Like the Cleveland Browns. So they immediately were captains. The pitcher rolls the kickball. If you don't kick it, you're out. If you kick a foul ball, you're out. If you kick it over the fence toward the street, that's 3 outs. The other team gets it. If you kick the ball and it goes over the fence, the high fence, that's 3 outs. And you have to stand on the fence because that's where all the bad kids have to stand for all of recess against the fence. If you kick the ball and it goes up in the air and Tommy says, I got it, and Jane jumps in front of him and catches it, the runner is safe. A girl throws ball and hits a boy, the boy is out. If a boy throws ball and hits a girl, the girl is safe. The boy has to stand on the fence. If you kick the ball and it hits the limbs coming out of that 15-foot fence, just touches them, that's a home run.
If you kick it and it hits the fence, that's also a home run. If you kick it on top of the school, that's 3 outs and you have to go find the custodian. And this game that he played, everybody wanted to play it. As soon as recess started, they all ran to that kickball diamond for the entire time he was our principal. And if Major League Baseball would have rules like this, games would be faster and we wouldn't have to pay them as much. So, honors to Tom Carney.
That's hilarious. That's a good idea, I believe. Do you know that our 39th season has just been announced? And just like last season, it will present tellers from both national and local scenes, including the second annual celebration of the Indy Story Slam. That's this right here, that's where you at. Please check out our new website for more details, purchase season or single show tickets, or to donate to help us produce this exciting year of programming. Okay? Oh, my basket is looking good. I'm gonna mix them all up, reach down and grab. Oh, this one was, oh, this got a fancy hole to it. Oh, it's sort of like a trapezoid. It's Paula. Paula Scott France. Come on down. You might have to adjust a mic for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to see?
I do.
We do want to see her.
I got some area.
You got one right there.
Okay. Thank you.
I can move it.
Thank you. Thank you. You're going to recognize some of these things that so far everyone up here is born at about the same time I was. So a lot of these things are real familiar. This story is about where I grew up at 25th and Hillside. It's not there anymore, but I grew up on an urban farm. And the urban farm had lots of animals, and one of the animals, well, two of the animals were actually steers. And this is before there was a big, there was any kind of ordinance against having animals. So most people know that you could have chickens, but you didn't know that you could have horses and cows and pigs. Well, actually, pigs were illegal, but we did have one in the barn. But this one is about the time that, well, it's called El Toro. Did I just? So my brothers and I, Steve, Paul, and myself, we were eating breakfast. Paul goes out, takes the garbage out. That's his duty to do. When he comes back in, he's looking for my dad, and he looks really upset. And he's saying, El Toro is in the garden. We had a very large garden, and El Toro is eating the cabbages and the corn and the greens and the peas and anything else he can get his hands on. El Toro is very large. He weighs at least 2,000 pounds, and he has horns. He's a steer, but he's still very large. So I'm watching Captain Kangaroo with my little brother. We're eating our oatmeal. We're drinking our Tang. We're really getting ready to go to school. And my brother Paul says El Toro's in the garden. I see my dad run out. He's got shaving cream on himself. He's got a towel over his shoulder. My mom is standing there going, "Oh, what?" She tells us to stay where we are. She goes outside. She's trying to, I see them out the window and they're doing these weird movements like that's going to make El Toro, 2,000 pounds of steer, go back into his pen, his fence. And this is all about the fact that the electrified fence did not work after it was put into place. So my dad runs in the house. He's calling up someone on the phone. I know who he's calling. He's calling this old guy who's a trash collector. The trash collector has a horse and a cart. And late at night, I could hear him, especially summer nights, I could hear him go. And I'd always wake up and I'd look out the window and look out the screen and I could see him going by with his horse. And he was picking up trash, but he'd only come out at night. And I think it was because it's probably not legal to have a horse and cart in Indianapolis in 1961. So he's picking up the trash. My dad is asking him if he can help. I don't know what he can do. He's like at least 80 years old, but in about 15 minutes up our driveway, and I should say that our house was large on 2 acres of land. And we had a very large driveway, and up the driveway on a pit horse comes an African-American, Native American cowboy. And he has a lariat, and he's throwing the lariat. He's ready for a photo. He's throwing the lariat, and I'm going, oh my God, I've never seen such a beautiful man in my life. And he's just throwing his lariat. He catches him, he puts his heels in the ground, just like they do in the rodeos. My brother Stevie has already run into the pantry. He got his Roy Rogers hat. He got his guns, his cap guns, and he's pow, 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 pow. And I'm saying, no, Stevie, stop. You're going to make El Toro crazy. He's already scared. El Toro's going, because the cowboy does have the horns. The horns are captured with the rope. The horse is somewhere else. He's in the garden eating something. And El Toro his horns are captured by the cowboy, and he's digging his heels in. But El Toro is coming right towards the back door, which Stevie and I are standing at, not able to move. At the very last minute, he turns him, and they go through an opening that's only about 3 feet wide. And remember, El Toro is 2,000 pounds. The cowboy looks like he's about 18, so he's kind of small, but they have to fit through this area. One side is a marble limestone barbecue pit, and the other side is a stairway that's going to go up to the second story. But they fit through. And I'm looking out thinking, how did that work? Well, it didn't really work very well because there was blood all over the side of the marble and this limestone. And I'm thinking, for the first time, I realized this is really serious. This isn't a joke. So my mom and dad are in the car going down hillside. The cowboy, later it was reported, was all the way onto Fall Creek, jumping on the tops of cars in rush hour with his lariat, trying to get El Toro. Finally got him back. I go to school. She made us go to school. I go to school, and my teacher, I tell her this, just like I'm telling you, and she calls me a prevaricator. I don't know what a prevaricator is, but I know it's not good. So I tell my mom, she called me a prevaricator at school, Mom, when I told her the story. She says, really? And she gets the paper, because in the paper, there's a section called, Did You Notice? And this is the next morning. Did you notice it has the whole story written out? And basically, El Toro wound up in a new refrigerator on the back porch. Thank you. And it's all true. Thank you.
Oh, is that right?
Woo-hoo! He ended up in the refrigerator in little tiny white packages.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Listen, our next meeting for our story slam. I think I don't need this because I'm so loud. Our next meeting will be at the the half-liter brewery. And the theme is popcorn. So start working on that now. Popcorn. But I'm going to reach into my lime green basket. And Jessica Heck, girl, it's your turn.
It was May of 2012, and my husband and I are unloading box after box. It's moving day. And I should be really excited, but all I can think about is the neighbors peeking through the curtains, just sizing us up, just waiting for us to make a mistake. I wouldn't have thought this way, but our friends who lived a couple streets over told us after we put down our earnest money that they were moving out because one of their neighbors kept calling the police on them. They didn't mow their lawn well enough, or their kids were too loud, or they had too many cars parked on the street. And I realized that a mortgage is not only a 30-year fixed rate leap of faith in your finances, but also in humanity. And I wasn't sure that I could do this, but it was too late. So I decided we're just going to go all Robert Frost here. You know, good fences make good neighbors. And I'm just going to start a lumber fund. And in the spring, we're going to build a privacy fence. So the spring comes around, and my husband and I are in the backyard looking around, you know, trying to figure out what we're going to do with it. And my husband looks up at this 100-year-old pin oak tree that's in the backyard. And he says, you know, the kids aren't getting any younger. Wouldn't it be cool if we took that lumber fund and we made a tree house? I thought, okay, fine. So a week later, 2 boxes show up on our front porch with heavy lifting symbols on them. And there were 75-pound bolts that you used to start the tree house. And so a week later, he's out there and he's building the deck. But pretty quickly, he realizes that building a treehouse deck is quite literally like building an airplane while you're flying it. And he is in way over his head. So he calls a friend who's in construction, and he comes over and helps him build the deck. And a week later, they're done, and he's looking down, and our friend says, hey, you know, you have this sidewalk that goes from your house to the garage. You could make a really cool staircase that goes up from that sidewalk to the treehouse. So he shows him how to do it, and a week later, we have a staircase. And by this time, the neighbors are getting really curious about what's going on. There was one guy, Jimmy, he was retired, and I think he was like hiding from his wife or something, but his garage faced ours on the alley, and he would sit out there all day, every day, watching my husband build with a 6-pack of Pabst Blue Ribbon, and he had a megaphone, and he'd like, to the right, you know, look at me. And Jimmy became kind of the spokesperson for this project. People from the neighborhood would go out of their way to walk their golden doodles down our alley and see what progress had been made. And Jimmy would inform them of what was happening. And if we ran into any problems, he would let everybody know, and the dog walkers and he would discuss it. So at one point there was a limb like this big that ended up being right where the side wall was going to be. And my husband was like, well, I guess we'll just have to chop it down. But Jimmy and the dog walkers conferred, and they said, what if we push the wall out just a little bit? And like one of them had some doggy door flaps, and they're like, you can make a hole with the doggy door flaps, save the limb, and just have the limb going through the treehouse. So that's what they did. But that changed the angle of the roof. And now we're talking about a 2-story treehouse. So Jimmy and the dog walkers start talking, and they're like, well, now you need windows. And one of the guys was like, well, my friend was a door-to-door window salesman in the 80s, and he has these little suitcases that have all these mock-ups of really nice windows, but tiny, in his basement. You could have those. So those got added to the treehouse, and pretty soon we had carpet and roofing tiles that we donated. We had a door, we had a porch light. And as the leaves fell in October, I could really see how big and beautiful it was. And I realized that this was not just our treehouse. This was the treehouse that Kenton Street built. And I thought, maybe we don't need that fence after all. And then I'm making, about a month later, I'm making pumpkin pies at Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving. And I go out to the mailbox and there's a letter from the city of Indianapolis. One of our neighbors had called because we did not have a permit to build. And I had the whole holiday weekend to Google and fret. And what I discovered was that the fine is $100 to $500 a day. And we had been building this treehouse for months. So Jimmy and the dog walkers were all concerned about this. And so by the time Monday came, they're like, what's happening? What's happening? So my husband calls at noon on Monday. He's like, and he hangs up. Like, what happened? What happened? He's like, well, our neighbor called. I said, I know. He goes, no, a neighbor called. Someone who used to work for the city of Indianapolis, and they've been watching your progress or watching our progress on the treehouse. And they called in and vouched for the construction, and the fines have been erased. So I'm 15 years into this mortgage and I still don't have a privacy fence, but that's okay because good tree houses make good neighbors.
Yeah. That's what I gotta figure out how to do.
All I have to say is, whew! I have a friend that if her yard, if the grass gets too high, somebody calls and she gets a fine, but you can look around, other people have worse shaped yards and they never get a call. So I would be looking for that neighbor. But I'm reaching into this lime green basket because I know you want to know who's going to talk next. It's Teresa Minton. Come on down. Woo-hoo.
Welcome. My tale starts in 1980. Back then, I was living in Kentucky. It was a hot August day. I was canning tomatoes. Can you imagine when there's no air conditioning in a southern state, how hot and sweaty and canning tomatoes? But living off the land, we were proud to be able to provide for ourselves. And if I didn't get the tomatoes canned, then we would run out before next spring. So as I'm canning these tomatoes, I run out of jars. And my husband decides, we'll use that old mayonnaise jar. Well, it's the same size, it has the same lid, so I go ahead and I use a mayonnaise jar in my batch. And then the only relief I get is when I look out the window and I see the diapers hanging on the clothesline. Those diapers were not moving at all in the breeze. There was no breeze. It was stifling hot. And the fence around the backyard was a picket fence that at the top of each board came up to a spike. And the fence boards were only about a thumb length apart between. And that was so we could let the rabbits, the domestic rabbits, graze in the backyard. I would slam the door, the screen door, and it would cause the rabbits' ears to pop up and they would run into their hutch every night and I'd lock them up for the night. That's when I heard the noise. There was a big pow in the canner. I opened the lid and that jar that wasn't supposed to be a canning jar had burst open. I now had tomatoes, broken glass, lids, and rings around the outside of all my produce that I was canning. I had to let it finish the process so that the other ones could be canned completely. Then I took it off the heat, took out the cans that were still in good, the jars that were in good shape, and I washed the outside of them, set them aside. And I had a pan full of tomatoes and glass and a mess. And as I walked out the door, because I'm gonna dump them over that picket fence into the compost pile, glass and all. I'll pick up the glass later. I'll pick up the canning ring later, but I got to get this hot out so I can get a fresh batch started. And as the door slams behind me, there was a chicken in the yard that got startled. Well, big deal, you know, you think big deal. Except when it tried to fly over the fence, it didn't quite make it. And its neck got stuck between the slats of that fence. Well, now I was a city girl raised. And so when I reached to grab hold of that chicken, because I was going to lift it up, get it off there, it started flapping its wings and I dropped it. And again, it fell with its neck between those two slats. I need to muster up my courage, get back to my country habit. And I grabbed that chicken. He didn't wiggle. And I picked him up and his head was dangling down. Like no motion at all. So I just kind of laid him on the ground. Now I got to change from boiling water for canning to plucking chicken, because we're having chicken for supper. So I put that kettle of water on to boil. It takes about 20 minutes to get enough water to boil. And then when I go out in the yard, the chicken's still laying there, you know, and I reach down to pick him up and he jumps over onto his feet, climbs over the fence and flies away. So I'm back to canning tomatoes. Now you think a cat has 9 lives. I mean, I've heard that. Well, now I know that a chicken has 2.
I see tomatoes, I think, yeah.
I was thinking to myself, that chicken is playing possum. All right now. I'm reaching into this lime green basket. So you got that. I'm pulling out a name. They tried to pull it up accordion style. Turtle. You ready? I'll try. All right.
So the chickens are.
Yeah, but that's a true story.
Wow. My name is Turtle. I want to tell you a story about a best friend. He was this little black cat. He looked just like that cat with Betty Boop. I think they called him Myram, but I named him Felix. He caught my eye because he was the strangest cat. All he ever did was walk the fence. All the other cats do everything else, but he was a male cat. He owned that fence. If he jump into the trees and get stuff, it's from the fence. Anybody walk by him. I love that cat. You know, sometimes you just get attached real fast. I picked him up and I tried to bring him in the house, and guess what? He ain't getting off that fence. So anyway, somehow my neighbor's house burnt down to the ground and the fence was gone. And about 4 or 5 years later, I got the chance to buy it for about that whole lot for $1. So, and I could not figure out what to put on this lot of land. I wanted to like turn it into a backyard or something. Build a fence. And I made this great big fence, that's 6 foot tall. And on the top of it, I made it just for him. Little Felix, little male cat running around. Well, I I'd chase him around in the yard and he'd never run away. It was like male cats would always run away, but this one didn't. I'd get out my fishing poles and have little matchbox cars on them, throw them out there, and then other cats would chase it. Well, he had fun chasing the cats. I would do things for him when the other cats would gang up on him in the yard, and then I'd run them all off. And you could just tell how much he appreciated it. And then I started noticing that I started seeing these little paws, print marks on my car. When I come out in the morning, it was like so much dust on the car, and I could see his little footprints. And he was sleeping on the top of the car where I sit.
Oh.
So I was all like, okay, maybe it's time for Felix to come inside. And he stayed with us for about 12 years inside. He watched me go through 2 wives. I had a daughter. I swear, the way he nuzzled her, it was like I could feel that nudge that he was nudging her when she was tiny, when she hugs me. You know, friends. You know, it's just some things you just notice, and that you try to carry on things when your friends pass away. And well, when he passed away after 15 years, that's where I put him, right under that fence.
Oh.
Good job. Thank you so much, Felix. I remember that cartoon too, Felix the cat. You gotta be a certain age to know all these things, you know. Ah, I love it. I try to give judges, see what happens? One good story leads to another. All right. But this story is coming from Shannon Sampson.
Yay.
I have a lot of eldest daughter energy, if you know me. Like, I run a real tight ship. Like, I get things done, okay? And I am really hyper independent. And I've been humbled quite a bit since I got my own house. There are things that I just can't fix, but I think I can. Like, I think that I'll just, like, you know, ask my YouTube dad to help me, and he'll show me how to do it. But when my hot water heater broke, I needed someone to come fix it. And if you've ever tried to get a plumber to come to your house, it's not easy. Like one that's like not like a real, like, you know, like a big business that's going to charge you all this money. You just want like a guy, right? Well, the guy that I found, it took him forever. The quote he gave me, too high. So I found this guy on Nextdoor, and he said he would come over and help. And so when he got to the door, much to my like thrill and dismay, he was so good looking. It was distracting. I'm a single woman. I don't have a good looking man in this house very often. And while he was downstairs replacing the hot water heater, I could not relax. Like I couldn't, I was trying to eat eggs, and I was like, found myself like posing in the kitchen in case he came up. And I would be like, oh, I do cook. And then I would just like go stand by some books and be like, this is the library. Oh, you know, did you need something to drink? And then I'd go fetch it. I was acting ridiculous. I couldn't wait for him to leave. Okay. So he replaces the hot water heater, I think on the next trip. And he says to me, do you want me to haul off the old one? And he said, that will be an extra $100. And I said, well, what are you going to do with it? And he said, well, this man lived one neighborhood away from me downtown. He said, I'll just put it in the alley and the junkers come take it. And I go, well, why should I just do this myself? Like DIY. I have an alley. The alley fairies can take it away and I can save $100. And he goes, great idea. Okay, bye. I pay him. So I go downstairs and he hadn't drained the hot water heater. And I thought I could just do it myself. Like I could just pull it up the stairs myself. I thought I could move a hot water heater full of water myself. That's how delusional I am. So I go to the house behind me, and this lovely lesbian couple lives there. And I go, hey, can I use your dolly? And they're like, what are you doing, Shannon? I go, projects. And I told them what I was trying to do, and they're like, you really thought you could move a hot water heater full of water upstairs yourself, even with like this hand truck? They go, we'll help you. So we emptied as much water as we could, and we got it up the steps, the three of us, and we got it out to the alley, and we put it next to the fence. And sure enough, the alley fairies came within days to take it, to scrap it. But the moral of the story is, what is better than one good-looking man inside your house? Two lesbians in the backyard.
That was hilarious. Thank you. As you were telling that story, I knew. She don't understand.
I didn't understand.
She don't understand there's water. She wants that hump to carry her steps it out. But I'm with you. I don't think it's worth $100.
No.
But hey, what do I know? I have pulled another woman's name out of this basket. And it's Tracy Wynn. Tell us the story.
I had folded it up more.
Found it. So I'm for you, please. I found it.
Oh, I had. That's why I don't turn it into it, but. Oops.
We are just not having a good time with that mic tonight.
Tearing up the mic.
The mic is in danger.
Danger, Will Robinson. Okay. I'm so glad to be back. It's Story Slam. Missed you guys. Okay. Fences. About 30 years ago, my sister got her house. And I wanted a house. She never wanted a house, but I wanted a house. And she had this big yard with about 20 trees in it and a tree line back. And I said, oh, I'm going to have a tree line back. I'm going to have a tree line back when I get a house. So 10 years ago, I was blessed to move back to Indianapolis, and we built our house. And our backyard is not the ideal backyard. It's on a big old slope, but we were so desperate to get out of Brooklyn, we just grabbed the first lot that came along. My husband, being the New Yorker that he is, he said, we're going to get a fence, a privacy fence in the back. Do I have this right? Can you hear me, guys? We're gonna get a privacy fence around the back. Because there are deer back there are raccoons back there are possums back there. And the wilderness does not frighten me. I like seeing deers from a distance. I like seeing bunny rabbits hop across the lawn and go over to somebody else's yard. I like it. And once we saw the possum actually open the trash can and pass food out to the other possum, no, raccoons, no, we don't any of those things. So we got this fence. Fences are to keep things out, keep burglars away, keep people who want to cut through your yard and break in your house, keep them all away. But there's some things that you cannot keep out with fences. And the first thing we learned was the snakes. They can wiggle their way through. And my husband cutting the grass, the first time it happened, when we came back from out of he yelled, and he does in his hysterical way, like he's dying, Tracy, get the rake, it's a snake. And so I come out, and again, we're on this slanted hill, and he's at the bottom. I just throw the rake down to him. I don't want to see the snake. I don't want to get close to the snake.
He took pictures of the snake and that was good enough for me. And I love this patio with my tree line back. And I love to sit out there at night on the patio and have my iPad and I can watch my shows out there. Because I lived in 11 stories up for so many years. I was just so happy. Well, they took care of, okay, the snakes. He got some stuff or whatever. Now, we have a garden back there. And I know that certain animals don't like marigolds. So you plant the marigolds to keep them away. Okay? The marigolds did not keep the field mice away. So I'm sitting there and I have my little, he's a Morkie, mixture of a Yorkshire Terrier and a Maltese. Have him out there with me. And I'm sitting there and you know how your peripheral vision catches it. Here comes a field mice running behind my garden straight over under the grill. I throw my feet up on the table, on the bottom of the table, and I'm screaming, oh my God, how am I gonna get back in the house? You know, and I think it's a little tiny mouse, but I don't want to see it. And so it goes under the grill, and the grill has a cover. And Kylo's going crazy. That's the dog. Okay, all right. This time we're gonna make sure those field mice can't get in. I'm gonna plant more marigolds, and they will see if they like that. And the squirrels and the birds. This doesn't keep them out. Squirrels just come on over and bite on your cherry tomatoes and go on about their business. Okay? And the birds. But this year I planted more marigolds and no more birds coming over to nibble on my plants. No more squirrels coming down to nibble on my plants. Well, there's a creek behind there, behind the tree line fence. Creek. So the next thing that I see, and I'm looking at it, and it's sitting there on the patio, and I've got my feet down, and then it hops. And then it hops. Andre, it's a frog out here. There's a frog out here. There's a frog out here. So he comes, and he's like, Tracy, you scared of a frog? I'm like, I don't want it here. I don't want it here. So the privacy fence is private only to a certain extent. And that's the end.
I'm proud of you with that garden though. I still haven't grown anything in a long time. Every year I say I'm gonna make a garden, I don't do it. Now I'm a little bit too old to be out there trying to dig and till the soil, you know what I mean? Oh, this is a nice big one. Rebecca Lund, come on down.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take this off. Okay, can you guys hear me okay? So for me, the fence that sticks out most in my mind is the fence around my high school stadium. It's been decades since I went to school there, but I still have a vivid memory of that fence. The stadium at my high school, like a lot of schools, was the hub of outdoor activity. Not just football games, but marching band competitions, cheer and dance competitions, and of course, track and field. For me, I was most often on that field for band. I was in the color guard, I marched flute and piccolo. That's about as physical as I got. But one year, my friend says to me, she wants to run track, and she would love it if I ran it too. So I said, band's over, I can't use that as an excuse that I'm like busy, and I didn't want to be a bad friend, so I agreed. Now, you may not have noticed this, it's subtle, but I'm not the tallest of people. My friend, however, was not just tall, but very, very tall. And she informs me we're going to run sprints. And being short and not particularly athletically inclined, my first thought is, well, at least the races will be over quicker. But back to the fence. One other thing that's undeniably true about me is I don't do anything halfway. I have to put my whole self in. And so I threw myself into training.
all the drills, A skips, hurdle drums, interval sprints, drill after drill after drill, almost invariably ending with a final sprint to the fence to vomit. That's why I remember that fence. It's the vomit fence. Now, the upside is I had a very nice and supportive coach, and I went to a huge school. They had plenty of talented runners. They didn't actually need me to be good. And when we had meets against other like smaller schools, I didn't even have to run, which suited me just fine. But when we had meets against smaller or bigger schools, we'd all have to run. I, of course, was not varsity. I ran reserve, the B squad, if you will. But I still always came in last. And sometimes by a full second, which is an eternity in sprint. One time, we were doing a race and I was a full 2 strides behind the other runners, and a kid walked out onto the track in front of me thinking the race was over. He felt terrible. Oops. About halfway through the season, my coach has the brilliant idea, if I can't run the races on my own, she's gonna put me in a relay. And she's gonna put me in the first spot in the relay because the other runners can make up the time, right? Sorry, coach. No reserve runners making up that much time. So she abandoned that idea pretty quickly until the last meet of the season. We were running against another huge school, so every single person was going to have to run, and there would be reserve relays. And in this instance, the anchor, the last person that ran the race, was out. So they moved my long-legged friend into the first spot, and I would be the anchor crossing the finish line. And as I'm standing there at the top of the home stretch, watching my long-legged friend take off, something extraordinary started to happen. She took the lead, not by a little bit, by a lot. And I'm watching her go, and she hands the baton to the second runner, and she maintains the lead. She hands it to leg 3, and she's barreling towards me like a frickin' freight train. So I turn, reach back, grab the baton, and I take off. And the stands leap to their feet. All 20 or so parents who were there. And they're yelling, "Run, Becca, run!" And I'm pumping my little legs just as fast as I can go. And I crossed that finish line in front of another runner. I was not last. I felt so good. And then I ran straight to the fence and threw up.
Becca, I'm so proud of you. That's wonderful. I don't know what happened. I didn't break it. Listen, don't forget we're meeting again next month. And the topic is popcorn, and we'll be at half-liter. But our time isn't up yet. I'm trying to stall so the judges have time to do their thing. But I reached in here, and Jan Pillsbury, you're up, girlfriend.
Sorry, after all the chat. After you hear all the stories, you forget your story. For that to go just a little bit lower. Not like that though. I'm trying, Shannon, I'm trying.
You want the?
I would like to not hold it.
Okay, let's lower it then, please. Okay, well, let's get it over there for the speakers. There we go.
Not that far.
I think I'm, I don't know.
It's been time to remember my story. Then.
Yeah. I was just go down, Samantha.
Well, I think it's broken.
Oh,
Well, we're gonna make it here.
how about that?
We got it.
Okay, just stand really
Perfect.
close to it for the people in the back.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. He was about 9 years old with big brown eyes. Mister, you want to see my fence? He whispered. Only $20. Now let me back up and explain how he came across this brown-eyed boy who had just the fence we needed to solve our problem. If you live in Indianapolis, especially Speedway, you know that every Memorial Day weekend, everybody becomes a Braves fan. About 400,000 people go watch the Indy 500. Now, I'd lived in Indianapolis for about 20 years, and I had managed to ignore it for the most part until I met Scott. Scott fell in love with racing as a young boy, and he would run to his mailbox and get the next copy of Speed Sport News, which he would devour. He dreamed of working at the Indy 500 one day. But a small town boy from northwestern Wisconsin couldn't work at such an iconic race, he was told. But he was determined. So in high school, he got a job working in a machine shop, learning how to build engines. He took a leap of faith and he moved to Indianapolis to be near where all the race teams were. And he found a job with one, driving transport, working on tires. And eventually, he found a job with Sam Schmidt. And that was his ticket to the Indy 500. And he proudly put on his billboard, put his team lanyard around his neck, and he dug into the work as a member of the pit crew. Small town Wisconsin boy made it to the Indy 500. Big deal, really big deal. He worked at the Indy 500 for 5 years. And as a member of a race team, he had a unique vantage point from the pit crew and easy access to the racetrack. Well, when I met him, he didn't work for the race teams anymore, but he still had free tickets. Only now, he needed to attend that race as a civilian. And that is a whole different experience. Now, when a boy who steals your heart has free tickets and wants to take you to the Indy 500, you say, yes. But neither of us had a clue about the maze it took to get your way to the ticket gate. So the race starts at 12:45. We left at 8 o'clock. Rookie mistake. I know. Now, we headed south on the highway and we were met by a sea of brake lights, which diverted us to a side road and another side road. And as far as you looked, there was an ocean of cars. So I pulled up my map to try and find a solution, anything, through a parking lot, through a random neighborhood. We wondered if our small car could somehow leap that small creek to open up a few more possibilities for us. It was ridiculous. And the closer we got, the worse the traffic got. And eventually we saw people parking. So we parked in someone's front yard that day had become a cash cow. What they charge for those is ridiculous. And so we got our stuff together. We looked at the map and we realized that we were 2 miles from the ticket gate. Off we set on our trek, taking one road, zigzagging on a different road, getting tangled up in some other race goers, getting tangled up in a dead end. It was ridiculous and we were completely frustrated. And then we came across this brown-eyed boy. Mister, you want to see my fence? Only $20. Fence? Why do we want to see your fence? It's a shortcut. It'll take you to the ticket gate. Now he had our attention, but could we trust him? We decided to take a gamble. Scott pulled $20 out of his wallet, handed it to the boy. He tucked it into his shorts pocket, grinned a big grin, and gleefully said, "Follow me." And he took us to the front door of his house. He took us through the living room and the kitchen, past about a dozen people who were all eating breakfast. None of them had a clue that this boy was taking 2 strangers through their house. Took us to the back door, and there it was, the fence, with a neatly cut out gateway. He lifted the latch, he twirled his hand in some fancy circles, he opened that gate, and there it was, the ticket gate. $20, well spent. And I loved watching that race with Scott through his eyes, telling me all about the drivers and the history and all of the things. His passion, you couldn't help but just lean in just a little bit more. And the next year we attended that race as civilians again, but we left earlier. We studied the map. We hoped we would come across that brown-eyed boy with that magical fence.
That was a smart little boy. Very, very industrious. Now, is there anybody else that didn't get in this little library basket? What's the theme for next month? Just testing you, just testing. All right. Well, our next teller is Debbie Gullery. Come on down.
Touch this.
Carefully.
I've asked her, I'm gonna take it off.
Yeah, pull it up.
Pull it straight up.
Pull it straight up. There you go.
That was dramatic. All right. So, oh, well, okay. So just like you said, sometimes you hear somebody tell a story and it reminds you of a story. So that's what happened to me. I wasn't planning to tell, but I have a story. So 2 things you need to know about me. 1 is I have absolutely no sense of direction. And 2, I love to go to garage sales. Is that what you call them here? Garage sales, tag sales? Okay. So, and also, okay, yep, better.
Yeah.
Also, when I can't find a good garage sale, I'm prone to buying things off of Facebook Marketplace. So I found this great thing, and honestly, I can't remember what it is, but I found this great thing that I absolutely had to get that was on Facebook Marketplace. And I had no idea where this place was because I have no sense of direction, and I've only been here 7 years, so you know. 7 years. So I get in the car. And and the lady, when if anybody else do Facebook Marketplace, I'm not the only one, I'm sure, okay. So, you text back and forth with the person and they tell you where to leave the money, etc. So she tells me where to leave the money and then she says, there's a fence, you'll see there's a fence, and I just want to warn you, I have chickens, but they won't bother you. And then you just open the fence and go up in I'll leave the item in a bag on the porch. So I said, fine. So I get in the car and I punch it into my GPS and I'm driving, I don't know where I'm going. And I'm thinking chickens, like, where does this lady live that there would be chickens, So finally I get there and I pull up and sure enough, there's a fence and there's chickens in the yard. And I'm like, now I'm from Montreal, like a urban girl, okay? I'm not familiar with chickens. I just don't have any experience with chickens, live ones, as you know. So I'm like, okay, they're just chickens. What can be, there's not a big deal. They're just chickens. So but I was a little nervous because I'm not, familiar. So and I was afraid that they were going to escape. That was my fear because I don't know anything about chickens. So I opened the gate really gingerly, close it quickly, and I walk up to the thing. And they just sort of moved away as I walked up the path. I got the item, put the money under the mat, and I turn around, go down the stairs, and standing in front of me is the biggest rooster I have ever seen. And I'm also not familiar with roosters. So this guy was humongous, but he was also beautiful. He was beautiful. The color of his feathers was just gorgeous. So I just stopped because he was big. And I just looked at him wow. And he looked at me. And I have to say, I was getting more and more nervous, but he didn't seem to be upset with me or anything. So I start walking, and to this day, I will never know why I did this, but I'm walking down the path and I'm surrounded by chickens, and I just decided to go, I don't know why I did that. There were chickens there, so I did that. And the rooster went ballistic and attacked me. And I was like, what's happening? And he did. He actually attacked me and he attacked my leg. And I was just petrified. And I was here. The rooster was there and the fence was there. And I thought, how in heaven's names am I going to get to the fence? I was so scared. And so it would be like a turtle. I was like this. And then all the chickens that were all around me before they just, it was like the Red Sea party. Now they were all around me and the rooster was right there. It took me forever to get from here to the fence. And I finally did get to the fence. I got out, closed the door, got in the car, and I was just I survived. to my chickens and the rooster. And I got home and I said to my husband, I was attacked by your rooster. And of course he looked at me like, what? Like, you just went to get something from Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, yeah, but you never know what's going to happen when you buy something from Facebook Marketplace.
Especially if you talk chicken to him. You turn that rooster on. That was probably a mating call. Listen, my lime green basket is empty, and I'm not gonna harass you about coming up here trying to tell a story, but I'd like to thank you for coming out. Because everywhere I go, I try to tell them about the Story Slam, and people come, and I'm so happy to see you. I was looking for storytellers, thinking I didn't have a story about events, and I ran across Glenn Cabral, who was a storyteller out of Providence, Rhode Island. And he told the story about two neighbors. They had grown up together. They were really good friends. Their family grew up, and they became old men and were living in the homes by themselves. And one day, one of the neighbors found a brown cat out wandering around behind his property. And he didn't know where it had come from, and he thought it was a good calf to keep. But the neighbor who was raising calves, and that has to be one of my calves, it's mine. And he said, no, it's mine. I found it. How do you know it's yours? You don't know if it's yours. The argument went on, and so the friends who had always spent all of their time together quit talking to each other. One day, the neighbor with the cows looked out and saw that his neighbor had made a creek run through the back of their properties. And that made him mad. He was so mad that when a carpenter came down the road, knocked on his door looking for some work, he said, yeah, I got some work I want you to do. Because I'm mad at my neighbor. He knew I was my calf. And he wanted him to build a fence. So he started right away. The neighbor went into town to get some more supplies. And it was gone a good while. But by the time he got back, he looked at the backyard and he could see that the carpenter had been hard at work. But he was hard at work doing something he hadn't asked him to do. His neighbor looked over and saw what was happening, and he ran out smiling and grinning. Instead of building a fence, the carpenter had built a bridge. And his friend ran across the bridge and hugged his neighbor and said, I know that was your calf all along. I'm sorry. And, building a bridge is better than building a fence. And that's the ball story. That's the best of my memory. I'd like to thank some of my people who came out tonight. People from Folklore Museum, people from Center for Supportive Housing, and you guys have just been fantastic. Do we have the results?
We do.
Woohoo!
Sorry, clear. Yeah. Maybe not clear.
Okay. We'd like to take your picture. All the stories were so good. You did a great job. Our judges have decided that Rebecca is the third place winner. Congratulations. Rebecca in the Muhammad case. No, Muley is our second place winner. And Shannon, girl, you are our first place winner.
Yeah, tomorrow's my birthday. Yay!
That's your birthday.
Seriously, thanks, guys.
I want you to know these were some hilarious stories. You did a great job. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm gonna finish my little